Welcome back to Surviving and Thriving, where we share with you the things that we have learned as we have transitioned our family from struggling to survive disease to thriving right smack dab in the midst of it, in the hopes that something that we share with you will help you, enlighten you, and encourage you as you transition your family from struggling to survive disease to thriving right smack dab in the midst of it. I would like to talk to you today about the delicate balance of when to have expectations and to push the people that you love, and when to ease up and not push them so much when they're going through health issues. I call it a delicate balance because that's exactly what it is. Because there are times when you have to push them past what they think that they're able to do, um, so that they can get stronger and they can learn that they can do more than what they think they can do. There are other times when you may be pushing them to do something that they may have already been doing and that they've shown that they could be doing, but their body is just not going to allow them to do it. And you may get some feedback from your loved one that lets you know that they're not able to do what you're trying to push them to do or setting the expectation for them to do. So it's a real delicate balance. And just because one day they're able to do it doesn't mean that they're going to be able to do that same thing the next day, because this walk, as I told you guys, it's a roller coaster and it's not easy. And energy levels are have so many variances, and sometimes one activity may be an activity that they want to do, and it also may be an activity that's a little easier for them. And so you can look at that and say, well, if they can do this, they can do that. But it doesn't mean that, because that other activity may press them in other ways or push them in ways that is a little bit beyond them. And so all activities aren't the same on the same level. And so even though it may look like it's easier or something that they may be able to do, it may be that they're not able to do it. So it's a real delicate balance in trying to find out how far to push, when to ease up, and when to back up. However, I want to tell you that it is good to not limit people according to the limitations that doctors say or limitations that the illness say. And I'm going to explain that to you and tell you why. Especially when you're working with children. Sometimes, they can have a speech impediment, or there could be something going on with their body, and you don't want to limit them and tell them they can't do that, or they can't speak that way, or they can't attain those certain things. You want to give children the freedom. You want to treat everyone, whether adult or young, as normal as possible. You don't want to treat them disabled, treat them sick, or you want to treat them as a normal everyday person, because guess what? They really are a normal everyday person. And when you do not limit them and you put expectations on them that they can do, or you just treat them normal, you'll be surprised how people will strive, how people will do more. Like, I had a couple of children that had speech issues when they were growing up. We never told them they had a speech issue. We never treated them as if they had a speech issue. We did do things to help them, but they didn't know that they were being helped, because we were doing it within our home and not going out and getting them special help or telling them they had speech problems. We just treated them normal, and eventually they were able to come out of something that could have been an issue for their entire lives. So it's really important, especially when you're working with children, to treat everybody normal, because as long as you're treating them normal and they feel normal and you have normal expectations of them, you'll be surprised how they may grow out of something or attain to something or reach heights that they so-called should not be able to reach. Now, it's delicate because it's just a fine line. Sometimes you can push a person beyond what they want to be pushed, but sometimes you need to push them. So let's talk about that a little bit. It is better to keep the mobility you have and the strength level you have than to lose it and have to try to regain mobility or to regain strength levels. And so sometimes, in order to keep people progressing or maintaining what they have, you have to push them sometimes beyond what they want to be pushed. So sometimes you may have to tell someone, I need you to put on your clothes, get your clothes on, put on your clothes. And they may respond that they think that they can't do it or they don't want to be able to do it, but you have to have them to do things for themselves. You want to keep the person that you're taking care of as independent as possible, because if they lose it, they may not get it back, or it's a lot harder to get it back than it was to lose it in the first place. It is easy when the body gets really weak, and sometimes when you're going through long things, it is really easy, long and hard things, it's easy to lose the willpower and the desire to get up and to do for yourself. And sometimes when people are catering to you too much, you can lose the desire to do for yourself. You get used to people taking care of you really quickly. So try to let the people you love do as much for themselves as possible. And at the times that you get feedback that you see that it's impossible for them to do it, go ahead and ease up a little bit, give them a little break, but come back to it and keep them moving. If a person stopped doing for themselves, you guys, not just mentally not wanting to do it, they may physically lose the ability to do for themselves. They may become immobile. They may lose a lot of their flexibility and their mobility, as well as their strength. Sometimes you can lose your strength, and it's not because you just don't want to do something. It could be because you've been bedridden, you've been in a hospital for a while, and it takes a long time to get it back. It takes way longer to get it back than it does take to lose it. I have had to learn how to walk again several times. I have been to the place where I couldn't even sit up for 1 minute because I had absolutely no strength in my body. And I'm trying to tell you that it will take you a lot longer, and sometimes that longer time period can be a year or more, and a lot of people never get it back fully, and it gets hard when you lose it once to have to keep gaining it back. So keep your person that you love as active as possible, as independent as possible, and pay attention to the signs. You can pay attention to the posturing, you can pay attention to certain looks, the way they speak, there's how quickly they can respond. There's a lot of things you can pay attention to see where the body is at that time, and is it a good time to push or not to push. Also, communicate. Communication will get you far. But I want to encourage you to not allow anybody to say, well, I'm sick, I can't do this, or I got these things going on, and allow them to stay in that place, because they will regress and they will regret it later on in life. There is a fine, delicate balance. And sometimes you might get some feedback and some response and that you might not like, but I would like to encourage you to keep pushing them. Not push them beyond what they can, but to keep pushing them and to treat them as normal as possible, and keep expectation. There were times where I was struggling in my body trying to regain strength and mobility, but my husband would relay certain expectations that he had of me for the day. And even though I didn't feel that I could do it, because he had that expectation for me and I didn't want to let him down, I pushed my body, which in turn helped me to get to where I needed to go, to where I could do it all the time. But there was other times where he would relay expectations and it didn't go over too well, because I just could not do it. And he got to hear me say some things that I probably shouldn't have said, but it was really how I felt, because I couldn't do it, and it was more beyond what I could do. But it was a delicate balance. He still had to have expectations of me, treat me normal, like there was nothing going on with my body, but also know when to back up, and you're not going to always get it right. As always, I do appreciate the fact that you tuned in. Please tune in again. In all things, remember, do you. Until next week. Bye.